welcome back to another video. It's me, IDK, and today we're reviewing the CT Toys DareDevil. And, so far, I've messed with them a little bit. I recently got them, like a couple, maybe 2 days ago, I believe. I messed with them for a little bit. And we're going to explain why this is now, honestly, the best CT Toys that we've gotten so far. It's above my favorite, which is the brown suit Wolverine. And which one was my other favorite? Gambit? But yeah, it's above those. This is a very good bootleg for what it is. And let's discuss it. Let's go into detail real quick. Bring the light down. So obviously, as you can tell, there's some shading. And we'll go over some problems with the shading, but so far, throughout the body, it looks fine. It's only like at the heads that it's pretty inconsistent. As you can tell, this head's a little bit more shiny. I'm not sure if the shading is showing, but there is shading, but not as strong as the other two. Real quick before I get my info wrong. Yeah. So, I guess spoilers for accessories. As you can tell, for the Screaming Head, it's more darker. It's more shaded. And the same is kind of said for this head, but then it's also like a mix. Also, I'm very sorry if you heard spit right there. I don't know why I don't know. But yeah, so shading is pretty inconsistent between the heads, but, besides that, the shading throughout the body is pretty nice. I really do like that. I like the muscle sculpt work, but I do kind of wish he was as buff as Batman over here. Let me bring him. Yeah, as you can see, I did some stuff to Batman. But yeah, I wish he was as buff as Batman, but I can kind of understand, but I still kind of wish he was as buff as Batman. But yeah, I like how it's sculpted right here, the double D's. But yeah, it looks nice. One problem though, it's the joints. The joints are way too light, and I don't think the light will do it justice, but obviously you have all this shaded work throughout the legs, but then you just have this red joint, a very bright red joint. Same with the arms, because the shading's pretty heavy on this figure, and when there's like spots missing for shading, you can tell, but I don't think it's going to be picked up by the camera, unfortunately. But yeah, sculpt works are very nice, I mean, there's not much to say, but there is some stuff I can say. The more you articulate this figure, the more some of the shade work will come off. It's not picking up. You can barely see it right there. But there's some of that shading scraping off when you move it to here. Another thing, while I do think this is a pretty good figure, why is it gappy? Let's see if I can. You can see it, right? Why is it like a giant ass diaper on Daredevil? Compared to the other CT toys, they weren't as bad, Like, here's Gambit, here's Daredevil. You can already tell it's not as gappy. Here's the CT toys Wolverine. It's not gappy like Wolverine. Why is that a thing? But even then, besides that, it's still pretty good, unless they oversize this, and maybe they'll fix it later on, or unless the officials also like that. Why is it gappy? I don't understand. When I first saw this, I was like, what the hell? I was so confused, but yeah. Now, before we get into accessories, articulation, or I more so want to talk about it because it's just standard Mafex articulation at this point. It's very nice. The joints are tight. Obviously, the wrist pegs are always like a little bit looser, especially like this one. The arms are kind of loose. This arm's like tight throughout, but it's like this one. The shoulder's a little bit more looser than this one, but it can still hold its own. And then the wrist joint is looser than this one. I don't know why that is. And there's no tight joints this time. Everything runs pretty smoothly. The knees get like snags onto either the extra plastic up here or some plastic inside of it. I'm not sure. Toe joints are, as loose as always. Ankle joints are great, they're not too loose, but they're not too tight, so that's nice, it doesn't fall over. And yeah, I think the drop down hip's kind of weird for this one. Because, like, it takes force to make the hip drop down, however. But if you like nudge it, you can, you know, it's like it wants to go down, but it doesn't want to go down. So you have to force it down, force it back up. But you nudge it a little bit, it goes down a little bit. I don't know why. But yeah, butterfly joints, excellent. Neck joint, pretty good. However, when I did first get this figure, the head was like stuck. It was stuck. So if you have that issue, I recommend heating it up. But like, I tried to take it off for the first time. I can do it now, but it was like it was like really stuck in there. Like when I popped it off the first time, the neck came off with it. I was like, what the fuck? Also, I don't know if I'm crazy. Hang on, I should. Oops. So, what you'll see is that there's, I don't know what you will call that. It's not a joint, but it's like a plug-in. You know how the heads are for the Mafexes and stuff, right? It's like that, but like different, obviously. But DareDevil doesn't have it. It's just all plastic with the hole. And that's how like certain other bootleg companies do it. Hang on, I gotta fix Wolverine now. But you know, that's how certain other companies do it because they don't want to make the extra like pegs and stuff. But I didn't expect CT Toys to do that. So it kind of made me worried because then sometimes that will limit the range of, you know, head movement. And it kind of does. Like, that's as far as he looks up without using the neck. And if we bring in Wolverine, trying to make sure neck's in place. There we go. I get, you know, I'm trying to compare it. Wolverine's just too short. I don't know. Maybe I'm just a little bit more crazy, or I don't know. To me, it feels like it limits the up just a tiny bit, but it's fine, you know, because then you use majority of the neck, then he looks all the way up as so, and looking down is never an issue. But yeah, I don't know why they decided to do this. Maybe because, you know, there's no reason to like make that little peg thing or something. I don't know, but it's something I noticed. I'm not saying it's a bad thing, but sometimes it's a bad thing. But I'm hoping CT Toys continues to do it right as they are doing so far with this DareDevil. So yeah, I'm not saying it's an issue, but just something I noticed. You can go ahead and call me retarded in the comments. I don't mind. Anyways, accessories. As we already talked about, he has an angry head and a screaming head. They're both very good. They pop on very easily. He comes with I don't know what these are for, you know, because karate chop hands, I guess you can say. I know DareDevil knows martial arts, but I don't really see him chopping people. He has relaxed hands. He has open hands. He has angry open hands, Kamehameha hands. And then he has gripping hands for his, I forgot what they're called, batons. Before we get to those, as you can tell, they're in there, right? No. It comes separately. I mean, I'm pretty sure you watched a Mafex review. But yeah, he comes with extra pieces of these, so you can have him holding just one, which I find very stupid. And then you can have him just, you know, when he's holding both. So yeah, there's those. Comes off very easily, but don't worry, it's not like loose or anything. And then you just plug it into the hole, you know, right there. And it moves good. It's not loose or anything. But yeah, pops in, pops in, then pops out very easily. You can hear a little pop when it goes in, and then a very hollow one when it comes out. So yeah. And like I said, his baton. Oh yeah, he also comes with a stand. Jesus, I hate Mafex stands and CT Toy stands. I think their stands suck. But anyways, here's his batons, and then you know you put them in the. Sorry, it looks awkward. You put them in the gripping hands like so. For this one, I'm not sure how it's supposed to be placed because I see some people do it like this, and I think that just looks entirely wrong. So I do it from the bottom. There we go. So then you can have it seem like whenever he's swinging it, he swings. I kind of put this in the wrong hand, or like not my preferred hand to put it in. But yeah, so when he's swinging it, you can kind of have that flowing there. I mean, you can do it either way. It's up to you. And then yeah, with this one, be aware paint or I'm not sure. Whoa, it's not focusing. What's going on? There we go. Be aware there is paint chipping or extra paint in the hands maybe. That'll go onto the batons. So I don't know. But yeah, you can just switch the hands out like so. Just like any Mafex or Marvel Legends or SH Figure Arts. And then, plug them in very easily. But if you want it to be safe, you can heat it up and stuff. So yeah. Oh yeah. And be aware that the joints will move around like fairly easily, but that doesn't mean they're like loose. And now we have DareDevil holding his batons. But speaking of batons, we're still not done yet. Here's this one, and they use bendy wire for this as well as the original. I guess this is more so like a hook, like this is something he'll throw and then it hooks either onto here or onto a building or something. Pretty long, it reaches to like almost to the whole bottom of this, my little cardboard thing. But yeah, pretty long, very easy to use, very easy storage. You just you use your finger, wrap it up like so, and then there you go. Then you just push it back in place. Like so, there. Although I did kind of do it wrong, but yeah. And then he comes with a longer one with both batons, no grappling hook or nothing. It's just the batons. So you can have him like either just throwing it at his enemy, having it bounce on the floor, then use the bendy wire to make it seem like it's bouncing back up. And this is way longer than the grappling hook one, which I find kind of funny, but that's fine. But yeah, this is a very long one. This reaches like the whole entire fucking set. But yeah. And just like those two, you just enter it like that or whatever. So, yeah. I don't know if I'm going to use this too much, but I probably will. But what I'm kind of worried about is like the bendy wire, because I'm pretty sure over time it'll end up breaking. Because I know the official one, I saw someone say like, hey, is anyone having any issue about, this standing up or whatever? And the bendy wire broke, so who knows if CT Toys got better bendy wire than the official company, or if, it'll also break. Only time will tell, but, this bendy wire is actually, like, really good, I really do like this bendy wire, Like, I wish I could just, like, find bendy wire like this. However, I don't think this could hold up, like, capes or anything. It's, like, more so, like, not as strong bendy wire, but it's good. It's good for what it is. But anyways, that's about it for But anyways, that's about it for like, accessories and stuff. We already went over articulation. Be aware that yes, he will squeak. How to fix that, I don't fucking know. But but anyways, let's get into scaling. Alright, here he is next to the CT Toys Gambit, and here he is next to the Marvel Select Hulk. And if you I know this is a random two to start with, but if you want to know why I chose these two, I don't know, just in case you want him to fight Gambit or something, here's the height comparison. But if you've seen that one not Daredevil cover, but if you ever seen one of those comic covers and that has Daredevil charging first, he charged at Hulk. He's also charged at Silver Surfer for some reason. So yeah, I just thought it would be kind of funny. Also, you cannot use Gambit's pole. It's slightly thicker than his batons, so don't try it unless you want these batons falling out. Next up, here is next to the Mattel Mutant Leader from Dark Knight Returns, and here he's next to the Mafex Defect Dark Knight Returns Batman, which I do need. I'm still going to make a review about it. However, I'm still kind of trying to find a new joint for him because he broke. Because Fun fact about these Mafex defects, they're all rusty. Like the joints are rusty. So when you're buying this, be aware that you will probably have to replace these joints. How? I don't know. Maybe buy the official, but then again, at that point, just keep the official. Why buy a defect? Replace the joints, and then unless you put the defect in there and then get your money back, and then I don't know. I'm being stupid, but yeah, just be aware that the joints are rusty and it probably will end up breaking. So I'm kind of curious to see. I'm not going to swap the joints because these joints are way too small for that big chunk of a figure. So I'm trying to see if like the joint will come out and then I can put it into that one and see if that works. But I don't know when I'll do that. So yeah. Next up, here he is next to the Super 7 Raphael, and here he is next to the NECA Mirage TMNT Casey Jones. Hey, they're all wearing red. That wasn't really intentional, mainly because I couldn't find the standard version of Casey Jones. I found the red one, so I was like, fuck it, I'll get the red one. And I just like Raphael. Next up, he's next to the Marvel Legends US Agent that I did kind of customize. I took like the Venom Captain America legs and boots and then put them on US Agent. Just in case you want to do that one comic panel where I believe U.S. Agent was on a mission or something, and DareDevil interrupted it because it was, I don't know, in his city or something. I forgot. But, I believe John Walker says, like, I'm good with God or something. And then Matt goes, if you were truly good with God, he wouldn't send out his devil. I don't remember it word for word, but you can, like, look it up and, correct me. And here he is next to the Marvel Legends Rider series. Punisher, so you can have these two fight. One of the best Punishers made, but I believe that 2-pack Punisher, not the Gamerverse one, but the former one, the one not too long ago, is probably better. I might get the Gamerverse one. I've been thinking about it because I wanted a Punisher, and then that one sold out, and I didn't want to go on fucking Hasbro Pulse so they can get an extra $15. So, yeah, kind of stuck with this one. Next up here is next to the Marvel Legends Luke Cage and Iron Fist from the 2-pack, Heroes for Hire. Just to get some Defender stuff in. We just need Jessica Jones or whatever. And no, not the original Defenders, with Hulk, Namor, Doctor Strange, and someone else. I forgot who it was. But yeah, they look nice together. I need to review these two because these are very good figures. However, one of them is very overrated and one is very little talked about. And you can probably guess which one it is. Yes, it's Iron Fist. Iron Fist is overrated. It's a good figure. It's just overrated, It doesn't feel good. It feels very cheap, but it articulates well. Luke Cage feels great. Articulates well as well, and it's just a good, better figure. I understand why this figure's talked about, but no one talks about Luke Cage over here. This is a good ass figure. Like, come on. Like, I get it. We all love lots of articulation to our figures, but we all gotta realize some figures that aren't meant to be highly articulated half the time, or like some characters that don't do crazy moves and stuff, but gets figures that aren't as articulated as the ones that do all those crazy moves, are still as good as how it's made. Like, I feel like, sorry to go on a rant real quick, I feel like the action figure community cares so much more about lots of articulation than how the figure itself represents the character. This represents Luke Cage very, very well. I believe this is a very good figure. The only downside is how the neck moves. Meanwhile, with Iron Fist, Danny Rand, by the way, he's good. But at the same time, the way the figure was made, while yes, Iron Fist can do all that, it just doesn't feel well in hand. Like, it's sometimes either too smooth, too stiff. It just doesn't do the character justice, in my opinion. As an action figure, yes. Design-wise, absolutely does it good, but figure-wise, it doesn't. Luke Cage, that represents him and how he moves and stuff. Iron Fist, yes, it can move like him, but it doesn't represent how he does it, you know? You can hate on me all you want, but I don't really care. Next up here is next to, I believe, Maf. You know, that one bootleg company that went by Maf. They just took the X off Mafex and just put Maf. You know, Deadpool. And here he is next to DC Toys Wolverine. I don't know why. Next up here, he's next to the Gamerverse 2-pack Captain America and Venom. And I'm thinking about reviewing these guys. I might review them tomorrow with my friend. I forgot what I call him on this channel, RetroRad. Because I'm giving him Venom. Because I don't want that Venom. I don't care about Venom. I really do not care about Blue Venom, you know. The body's great, you know. I really do like how it is. At first, I kind of dismissed it because I didn't care for it because, you know, the other 2-pack Venom with Null, that one's my definitive Venom. And when the Walmart exclusive one came out, I was like, oh, that looks cool, you know. I kind of want it for the heads, but besides that, I don't really care for it. I didn't care for this body either, but, you know, after messing with it, it's a good body. I wasn't familiar with this game. My fault. But, yeah, I don't know if I'm going to review these two by myself or with RetroRad. We'll find out. And, of course, to end off this review, here is Daredevil next to the 3 best Spider-Man figures in my collection. Here he is next to the Retro Wave Symbiote Spider-Man that I modified. Here he is next to the bootleg Sentinel Peter B. Parker / Peter Parker Into the Spider-Verse Spider-Man. And here he is next to the amazing... Wait, what? Oh my god. The Amazing Fantasy Spider-Man. I kind of miss having that figure up here. But no. Here he is next to the Maximum Series Spider-Man. And final thoughts on him. This is one of, if not the best CT Toys figure right now. Right next to Batman. I know I have him like torn apart right now, but you know, off rip, this figure is pretty damn good too. But however, I feel like CT Toys definitely did Daredevil better than Batman. And I don't really know why, you know? Batman's pretty good. However, I believe the cape, this goes for like the official Mafex 2 for Batman. I believe the cape just ruins the figure. I know some people like bigger capes or whatever. I personally don't. I feel like it gets in the way of articulation. I feel like it's the way when you're trying to mess with the figure. I feel like it gets in the way when you are posing the figure. Sorry, but I had to breathe right there. But yeah, I don't like big capes, and I feel like that what drew me back for that CT Toys Batman. Even though I did say that was like a perfect figure, but no, this one's perfect, mainly because it doesn't have an annoying cape. It's very easy to pose. All the joints are pretty tight, you know. No wrist joint is looser, too much looser than the other. Yes, this one's like a little bit loose, but if you were to have it like, you know, up and with the baton, it's not going to fall down. Even with the wired ones, which are a little bit heavier, it's not going to fall down. So that's what I really like about this figure. I feel like the detail is pretty good too, you know. I feel like the muscle mass and everything. The only downside, of course, is the big-ass diaper for some reason. I don't know why figure companies, let alone CD Toys, is doing that. We all know McFarlane loves doing that, you know. But besides McFarlane, I don't think anyone else is doing that. So it doesn't make any sense. Articulation is just your standard, you know, Mafex articulation. The toe joint's a little bit ugly though. I don't think I went over that. The toe joint is like way back, and yeah, it's not like that on like Wolverine or anything. So I don't know why Mafex and CT Toys decided to put that toe joint like really far back, but you know, whatever. But other than that, I do feel like this is the perfect CT Toys replica of Mafex, bootleg. But there's nothing much to say. I know I'm pretty much glazing this figure. I do think it's very, very good. There are issues, obviously, as paint chipping for the shading and whatnot. But that goes for like anything, whether it's like an official company, Mafex, whatever. I have a Mafex figure, aka Carnage, that has lots of paint chipping, which I do dismiss because, it's Carnage. He has lots of tendrils and stuff like going throughout. So, yeah, I can kind of excuse it and it doesn't bother me too much. However, besides all that for Daredevil, there's so much shading going on, I kind of don't really notice it. And then there's like that bright red. So, yeah, I don't know what else to say. But anyways, feel free to comment down below. If you do not like this bootleg, that is just fine. Feel free to speak your mind. I'm not going to say that you're wrong, Lots of people have lots of opinions about other figures. Lots of people hate CT Toys because they make, replicas of Mafex, and, that's kind of illegal, so I can understand. But at the same time, there's no reason to, like, shit on people who buy CT Toys, Especially, like, right now. Like, times are kind of rough, guys. Like, give them a break. I still buy CT Toys because, Jesus, the aftermarket price is insane for Daredevil, He went from, like, what was his original price? Like $80 on Amazon. He was like $100, like usual for Mafex is on Amazon. But like for other stuff, they go for like 60 to 80, and I believe Daredevil might have been 80 or 75. I don't fully remember. If it was more, please tell me, because I literally don't remember. But that instantly sold out, and then aftermarket prices go way up, so he's like 130 to 200 to potentially 300. So CT Toys making the replica and stuff, bootleg. Sorry, I keep saying replica. Well, it is technically a replica and also a bootleg. But besides that, CT Toys coming in, making them all the same height as the official figures. Allegedly, I don't have the official figures, so I can't compare it. Go check out Andrew Geek or anyone else who has the actual Mafexes. You can see that, see if it's actually official height or not. But, it's great. It's great for, like, people who cannot afford Mafexes. And I know a lot of people would be like, oh, just work your ass off or whatever. But, even when people work their ass off, they still can't afford a fucking $80 to $60 to $70 figure. So, like, if you don't break, man. Jokes aside. Yeah. Good figure. Feel free to comment if you like this video. If you hate this video, which I feel like a lot of people do, because I'm thinking of changing up the editing style, but I just don't know how. I don't have much space to record and stuff. I want to go back to doing like live action bits, but I kind of don't want to do that because I don't know. I just don't know how to fit that into the video half the time. But anyways, besides all that, if you want to pick up this figure, feel free to do so, I might put the link in the bio in the description, but I'm not sure because I keep forgetting, and it's like 5 in the morning, and I'm recording this right before having to go to work. I got a job, guys. Yeah. But yeah, I don't know. If it's not there, comment down, be like, hey, you forgot to put the fucking link, you asshole, and then I'll be like, oh, okay, my fault, and then I'll give you the link, Just let me know. But anyways, I hope you have a good day, night, evening, whatever. If you're watching this at like a whole ass new universe or something, I don't know. I just hope you're having a good time, good life, If it's going rough, don't worry, it will get better. If you don't believe so, it will eventually soon. But if it generally isn't, keep holding on, because there is still hope out there for you, so don't worry. You are cared for. Even though I don't know you, I care a lot for people, especially like right now. It's pretty terrible, but I care for a lot of people. I care for everyone, really. I hope. everyone has a better life, you know. But anyways, yeah, I love you all. Thank you. Peace.